When you're talking about the opioid crisis, it could be anybody, from a recreational street drug addict to a pastor of a church who gets involved in a car accident.
Certainly the criminal justice system has been ravaged by it, with the volume of cases that we're seeing now where the root of the problem is an addiction to opiates. The theft cases, the breaking in, enterings, the burglaries, at the root of a lot of those cases, when you get down to it, it's to feed an opioid addiction. It's permeating all facets of the criminal justice system, for sure.
This addiction is powerful, and it causes people to do things that otherwise they would absolutely have never thought that they would get involved in. A year into their addiction, they're pulling armed robberies.
So our crime is just going to keep increasing. We're not going to have enough prisons, and we're not going to have enough policemen.
I thought to myself, this is the last time to take it to this level. I'll never do this again. And it was just the next day or so, I didn't have any more. And here I was again. I was square one. I was hurting. I knew what would fix this physical pain of sweating, body ache. And so you call them again, and then you call them again. To get the amount that I needed and wanted, I was spending about $100 every time I would meet him. Just a $100 bill every time I met him. Don't seem like a lot, just saying it once, but once you find yourself meeting him 2 or 3 times a week, that's a minimum wage paycheck. You're spending some people's paycheck just so you can get out of bed. I sucked up all the favors. I've called every friend I knew, anybody I knew that had their own business. I would work for them, but I wasn't dependable. I wasn't myself. I wasn't on time. I would have this drug problem. I would have to disappear for 3 or 4 hours during the day just to go get my drug and then come back, and finally people had to let me go. You're doing drugs. We can't have this around us. We can't have this around our people and our friends and our business. So I found myself having no job. I remember the first time I was with somebody, he said, just stay out here in front of this store and I'll be right back out, and just take off. He stole something, got in the truck, took off. We sold it, we pawned it, we had money. And I'm like, dude, is it that easy? He goes, yeah, this is a way that you can, you can't keep a job, can you? Ha ha. I'm like, no, I can't. He goes, well, we can do this. You can make $200 or $300 in a day, and now you're covered for a whole week. So couldn't keep a job, family didn't want me around doing this, so I found myself stealing. Going to Home Depot or Lowe's and taking these tools and selling them. I'd grab 2 or 3 drills, walk out the side door to the lawn and garden section, take my belt off, make a loop. I'd loop around all 3 or 4 drills I got. I would scale the 15-foot tall fence, jump over the fence, jump in the bed of the truck, and take off with these drills in my hand. I would do that 2 or 3 times a week, it seems like. In the moment of doing it, I knew I needed the money, I knew I needed the drug. I didn't think there would be repercussion from it. I figured it'd be a slap on the wrist, don't do that again. I didn't realize that they were building a case on me. I didn't realize that there's surveillance cameras, that they're taking note of who I am and what I am doing. I couldn't steal down in Purcell anymore. I couldn't steal in Norman, Oklahoma City, Edmond. They're starting to know my face, becoming a regular old thief every day. I ended up getting charged with unauthorized use of a motor vehicle and possession of stolen property and drug paraphernalia. They take me to county jail here in Cleveland County in Norman. I spent 3 months in county jail, and I remember my mom was nice enough. She said, I will take a collect phone call. I remember one of those phone calls, she had my daughter for a while, and I remember hearing her trying to talk, and I was like, is that Ellie? She goes, yeah. And I remember hearing her talk, and I said, how tall is she now? And I can just close my eyes and I can see her height, how tall she is. She's about knee high to me now, John. I'm She was just crawling. Now she's walking. I remember sitting there in my jail cell. I said, I don't want to be like this. I don't want to be that dad that died in the field. I don't want to be that drug addict. I don't want to be the person in prison. I want to be the husband I'm meant to be. I want to be the father I was meant to be.
People do scary things and people do horrific things. And when we see that stuff, we say, how could they? What were they thinking? Because we're using that part of our brain that evaluates behavior, that says, you know, we should be in control of our faculties, whatever those might be. And that's probably one of the hardest things for folks to grasp, is that element of losing control.
The Oklahomans who are becoming addicted to opioids are good people for the most part, who through no fault of their own, it really just kind of sneaks up on you.
In 2005, I had one case in 8 years as a prosecutor, and I'll never forget it because I opened that file and I saw a possession of heroin charge, and it shocked me because I'd never seen one before here in Cleveland County. And I remember just thinking, wow, what am I gonna do with this? I've never seen anything like that. And fast forward 2018, I see probably at least 5 or 6 of those files a day. Certainly the criminal justice system has been ravaged by it, with the volume of cases that we're seeing now where the root of the problem is an addiction to opiates. We've seen this onset of opioids really become a new scourge in the communities. Easily a majority of the criminal cases that get filed, misdemeanors and felonies, whether they're drug possession crimes or not, when you get down to the root of what's driving the criminal activity, I can easily say that a majority of those are being driven by addiction, and a big part of the addiction that people are addicted to presently are these opiates.
Daily, every day, multiple calls a day, from the lowest end being property crimes to the highest end being violent occurrences where people are at each other's throats. So if we're servicing one part, taking up calls and time dealing with property crimes such as auto larcenies and stuff like that, which is a pretty common crime and a high statistic and one of our largest complaints of our community that occurs, it takes us away from being able to service somewhere else.
And so it affects all of Oklahoma because all Oklahomans are paying taxes. We have a funding shortage in areas like prison and mental health. I'll take it down more to a local level of county and the county jail and all the county jails. It's a pervasive problem and it affects every Oklahoman.
We're all going to pay for the economic damages caused by the opioid epidemic. It's over $55 billion a year for the whole country. The criminal justice costs and the correctional facility costs are over $2 billion. The cost for law enforcement is over $1.5 billion.
How many individuals have ended up in the back of a police car, the inside of a jail cell, or the inside of a prison cell because they have a disease of addiction? Prison in Oklahoma, on average, costs $19,000 a year for one person to be incarcerated. Treatment costs $2,000 a year or less, and you can turn someone's life around. So if you think this doesn't affect you, you really need to look at your bottom line and what's happening with your tax dollars, because you're paying more for those negative consequences than you would demanding that your tax dollars be spent on treatment.
We don't have enough taxpayer dollars to pay our teachers, much less to build more prisons and lock more people up. We can't afford to keep going the way we're going.
On the next episode of Killing Pain.
I remember sitting there in my jail cell. I said, I don't want to be like this. I don't want to be that drug addict. I don't want to be the person in prison.
When you're talking about straight up addicts, what we need to do is find ways to address those issues in the community before we incarcerate people. And the last place I want someone to end up is in prison.
Drug courts recognize that addiction is a disease, and so it's focused on treating the addiction.
I moved forward. I did everything drug court asked me to do.